I'm starting from the end of this winter's logging. We have called it now. It's too much snow to fight with. It's not worth it. Here is the area that's been clear cut. It should be 8 hectares if my measurements, well, I've done my best. What's that, like 20 acres? I did a couple of days ago turned up the pressure on both the delimbing knife and the feed rollers on really big trees, because I've had such poor control logs when they have grown in size with up to between 7 and 10% deviation. I later here got a really big one, actually over dimension. A few of them we have had to trim the end a little to not have it be discarded for being too big as timber, so and had a lot better values then. It might be quite or a somewhat boring movie because of the failures. I've been a little pressed for time, so any video footage has been secondary, and I was hoping to do some video footage from outside and so on, but that hasn't really been any time for that. And sadly a lot of the trees are sick. It should have been clear cut a long time ago maybe, but it is what it is now, so better keep clear cutting. It still keeps making a few of the logs a tiny bit too short, but with the extra few centimeters I added to the over goal, I still am above the required length without problems. So, and it feeds a lot of wood chips at you if you angle it at the cabin, so it could be good to learn to angle the spread of wood chips away from the machine. Trying to, there is a little bit of rot at one end, and it would still pass as timber but a lower class, so when it's that little, I've found that usually trimming away a couple of discs you can find good wood, and it should be measured in as a higher class timber and pay a little better. So a little bit of a break. I find it relaxing to turn off the machine and not be stressed by having the idling engine. And it's real slow compared to the professionals you see, but it's still nice being able to process your own wood. And it has taken me a while to get a good feel for it, but it gets better and better. I've found a few issues with the machine I would like to sort out, so there will be more branching videos in the future also, and hopefully in the future better operating videos, but not this winter. I will start logging earlier next season, and because the plan was to actually go over an area twice this size, but I feel it's no point in fighting the weather and snow and all of that. And the control logs on smaller size logs, I'm below 1% in accuracy. I think this one was 0.6 even if the camera had died. And my dad is operating the forwarder and doing a great job. He's keeping up with me for sure without overworking. He has clocked less hours than I have, but it's not that far to haul the lumber out either, so he should be able to keep up without problem. I always want to fell them so I can see the cut. Here it's a little tiny bit of rot in the middle, so it has to be no rot whatsoever for it to be a higher class. And I tried trimming away a little and spraying the cab again. I should have made a cut earlier while I had it in front of me, but still a tiny bit of rot, and then I shorten them a bit to have a shorter log that gives me a lower price, and then hopefully find good material. And then it was rotten higher up instead, because it's probably some damage higher up on the tree trunk that has allowed the rot to enter. So it's classified down as pulp, sadly. Well, sadly it still pays decent, but timber pays a little bit better at least. And it's a little bit of a learning curve how big they need to be. Here it might have been overkill doing a double cut from multiple sides, cause and I also held up the harvester head a tiny bit, so I didn't go full depth and get any of the roots sticking out at the bottom. And another break. My dad had a few obligations, so he snuck away, and I was, because we were expecting a little bit more snow, so I wanted to get not have that much material laying out in the woods, getting that out to not lose anything in the snow. And if you leave it there, and you might have to dig through a lot of snow to find if there are, because I know I had spread out a single timber piece here and there. A few piles were left for my dad for the smaller timber, but I made sure that the piles were big so they would not get lost. and I need more time in this one to pick up the speed. I can feel I need to use that extension a lot more than I'm using. It's faster than reaching out with the entire arm all the time as I'm doing. My dad has got quite good at using that actually. And then unloading at the place where the trucks will be able to pick it up and haul it out of the forest. And in a lot of the videos you see them swing the material over to the side and open the grapple a little to kind of get the ends to be at an equal length. I will remove all the sound here because I had started the radio and I don't want to have any copyright issues, so but doing that swing I need more practice. Back in the harvester I kept doing a few measurements here and there that the diameter is still going good. There are a few quite big trees around and a few of them are actually healthy, and even if I think half of the volume will be going as pulp, sadly. I've had a couple of times that the chain had skipped on me, but I think it's mainly operator error that I've had, that the chain had been. It's mainly when I get I'm not able to lift it in time and it starts having the saw bar jammed as the trees fell down. But I've had very few skips since the repair we did, so that turned out good at least. And this one was rotten pretty much all the way. Here is a big one I had kind of marked out a little earlier that I wanted to do a control log out of. And this one was actually big enough at the bottom, it needed to be trimmed, so a tiny bit, just over 60 centimeters at the very bottom. And if they go above that, they are discarded. Well, you get kind of a pulp price with other rejected logs and an extra deduction for because of the extra transportation, so you want to avoid too many rejected logs, especially because of something like that. Machine says 1.655 cubic meters. It's a tiny bit less according to the timber tails, 1.624, 1.9% deviation. Waiting a little for my dad to pass, to not have any, because the wind was blowing in that direction, and I kind of wanted to fell some of the trees in towards him, and having something like that causing a lot of expenses and wrenching time is not worth it playing around with felling them. Made a couple of longer logs for a project, going to try to save an old log building. Maybe start looking at that this summer. We'll see how it goes, if we can put these on the saw bench and be able to make some usable logs for saving that building. And it might be a video about that in the future also, if it goes well. So even if there were a few setbacks, I'm still happy the machine, once the fixes had been done. Here I found that it had ripped that high-low coupling connector again, and so the fan on the forwarder might be needed to be pulled out. If I need that fixed, it just runs on high speed now. If it's really cold, that's not really good, but we have had mild weather, and during the summer it won't be an issue, I guess, but before next winter it might need to be looked over. And my dad is already deaf, so don't even comment about the hearing protection. Here one needed to be trimmed.